Hello everybody and welcome back to the second shelf. It's the 30th of May when this video will go up. So end of the month, meaning beginning of a new month, meaning time for new books. And for those of you who might be new to the channel, TBR for the purpose of this video, which I make at the end of every month, means to be released. So I look at new releases for the upcoming month and I pick a couple, 3, 4, 5, and I'll talk to you about it because I find them interesting. And the first book I want to talk to you about is not even a June release. It was released on the 22nd of May, but I forgot to mention it, stupid me, in my May TBR video, and I had to correct this mistake because it's a book that I've already read. It's a modern German classic, Anna Seger's The Seventh Cross, originally published in 1942. And newly translated, because there is already an English translation out, but this one is newly translated by Margot Dembo-Bettauer. And Anna Segers, if you have never heard of her, you should certainly check her out. She's one of my favorite modern German classic authors. She was born in 1901. She fled the Nazi regime in the early 30s, first to Marseille and then to Mexico. She lived in Mexico City for a couple of years during the war and then returned to Germany. She's written wonderful books. They are all about the Second World War, so they are, not easygoing books to read, but they are just wonderful. And this one, The Seventh Cross, is one of her most famous books. I think it has been made at least 3 times into a movie. The first one with Tracer Spency. It's set in 1936 in a German concentration camp, and you have 7 prisoners who manage to flee the concentration camp. And then the book is about the hunt for them, how they are picked up one by one and executed when they are forced to return to the concentration camp. So it's almost a thriller. It's really fast-paced, but it's a very moral, political book, and it's just wonderful. So if you have never read Anna Segers, please check her out and maybe start with this new English translation of The Seventh Cross. And then we move on to the actual June releases, and we stay with literary fiction. And the first book I want to talk to you about is Olivia Laing's Crudio, which will be published on the 28th of June. My goodness. Olivia Laing is a British author. She is a critic, mostly famous for her nonfiction, and I really loved her book, The Lonely City, about the art of being alone. And this one is her first novel, but it's not really a debut because she published plenty of books before. And I came across this book thanks to Simon over at Savage Reads, because he can't stop raving about the book. I will leave both his videos in the description below. The book is set in 2017, and we follow a writer, Kathy, who is in her early 40s, about to get married. And then during a summer, that's what I understand from the blurb and from Simon, we follow her trying to come to grips with making this commitment, but also telling us about the world she lives in. So you have Brexit, you have Trump, you have the end of truth, and it sounded really interesting. And because I really loved her previous books, her essays, I thought I have to check this one out. We stay with literary fiction, and the next book is a debut novel. If you're following me, you know that I always look for new authors, that I'm always interested in discovering new authors, and that I try to read one debut novel each month. And this one is by Fatima Farhan Mirza, A Place for Us, which will come out on the 12th of June. Fatima Mirza is a Californian author, and the book centers around an Indian-American Muslim family who gather in California for the wedding of one of the children, Hadia, and all the siblings and the family gather there, and it's a family saga looking at the past of the family and why some of the children are estranged from their family. And I just love books about family dynamics. And I'm interested, of course, in discovering books about a community or a culture that I don't know that much about. And Indian American Muslim culture is something that I know little about. So I thought this sounded interesting, and I hope it's good. The next book is also a debut. By the way, sorry about the weird light changes, but we have a thunderstorm coming outside, so it's sunny and then not. Anyway, what do you care? The next book is also a debut, but in a different genre, sci-fi. You know, if you follow me, that a TBR without a sci-fi novel is not a TBR. So this one is by Peng Shepherd, a young author from Arizona, and it's called The Book of M, coming out on the 5th of June. And I really thought the premise was intriguing. The book starts in India when a man walks over a market, and all of a sudden he loses his shadow. And this new disease spreads all over the world, and the people who lose their shadow also lose their memory and obviously become violent. That's what I understand. So this whole event is called the forgetting. And then the main part of the novel follows a couple, Ori and his wife Max, who escaped to the country in order not to be afflicted by the forgetting. But then one day Max's shadow disappears, and she knows that she will lose her memory, and the more she loses her memory, she will become dangerous to Ori. So she runs away, but Ori doesn't want that. So everything takes off from there. I thought, it depends on the execution, of course, but I thought the premise was fascinating, that people lose their shadows and their memories, and I'm always interested in books about memory. So I'm really looking forward to this, The Book of M by Peng Shepherd. And the last one is something really special, at least for me, because it's about Frida Kahlo, and you know how much I love this Mexican artist. For those of you who don't know, Frida Kahlo was a Mexican painter. She died in 1954. She was married to another painter, Diego Rivera, and Frida died a couple of years before Diego, and all her personal possessions, like her clothing, her jewelry, but also diaries, her makeup, her medical devices, her prosthetics, because she had a very severe accident when she was young in a bus, and she was speared by a metal rod through the stomach. So she had to wear prosthetics and corsets all her life. So anyway, all of that personal stuff was locked away, and it was only opened up in 2004. And Claire Wilcox and Cersei Hennestrosa, the two editors, made a book of it. So it's called Frida Kahlo Making Herself Up. And it's photographs of her clothes and jewelry, but also of, like I said, diary entries. So for all, it's expensive, I have to say. It's $50, the hardcover. But if you are like me, really, really into Frida Kahlo, I'm sure you will be interested in that, but probably most of you won't care. So it's more something that I'm really excited about. Anyway, so those were my picks for the June TBR. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my selection. Let me know down in the comments whether any of the book interests you, or whether you have recommendations for new releases in June that you are excited about. And I will see you all soon in my next video. Bye bye.